It's that time again, folks. When there's nothing to write about, sometimes journalists find something to write about. And over at Bleacher Report, the fine journalists over there saw fit to take rank and rate some players they thought were overrated. And the second most overrated player, according to them, is RJ Barrett. Now, I don't have to tell you, I'm a little bit upset. I'm a little bit angry. And I'm going to get very, very blunt when I discuss and detail what they talked about when they discussed RJ Barrett in their article. We're going to break down all of this and so much more today. I guarantee it. On the Knicks Digest. So Bleacher Report apparently rated RJ Barrett as the second most overrated player in the NBA. Not the first, thankfully. We'll get to who the first is in a little bit. But right now, the second most overrated player in the NBA, according to Bleacher Report, is the New York Knicks rising star, whatever you want to call him, RJ Barrett. If you look here, Bleacher Report stated that they listed him again as the second most overrated player in the league over the past 5 seasons. I wanted to make that clear. It's over the past 5 seasons that he's rated the second most overrated player in the league. But let's continue at this. Andy Bailey from Bleacher Report, he's the one that wrote this about RJ Barrett, stated the following about Barrett. Without free throws, Barrett has scored 3,958 points on 4,157 shot attempts, or 503.4 fewer than a league average shooter would have. And I'm going to get to why that's so important to talk about soon. The only player further below zero during his career is Russell Westbrook, who is obviously doing a lot more as a passer and a rebounder than Barrett. Andy Bailey continues by stating the following. Regarding that plus-minus impact, the Knicks are a minus 1.9 points per 100 possessions with him on the floor over his 4 seasons, compared to plus 3.9 without him. Good job, Andy Bailey. You tried to sell me on why RJ Barrett was the second most overrated player in the NBA. Let me counter you on some things, because I'm going to be very blunt here. You said, and pull it back up again, you said without free throws, Barrett has scored 3,958 points. And again, that was fewer than a league average shooter would have on the same attempts. Let's go ahead and plug in that league average shooter. Who is it? Name the league average shooter. I would love to know who it is. And here's why. Who is the offense runaround? Who is going to have the ball in their hands? Is RJ Barrett the focal point of the New York Knicks offense? Does RJ Barrett dictate shots? Does he call his own plays? Does he call his own numbers? Is that what he does? Is that his playing style? Does he play with 2 ball-dominant people in Jalen Brunson and Julius Randle? And I love Jalen Brunson. There's no knock to him. I'm just stating what's obvious here. Does he play with guys that utilize the ball more than he does? Of course he does. And of course, with RJ Barrett, he needs the ball in his hands to be effective, because RJ Barrett driving to the rim, we saw, and him being aggressive, is what makes him and his game thrive for the New York Knicks. So we need him to do that. We can't just shut that off. So obviously, RJ Barrett needs the ball in his hands to thrive. The league average shooter you're talking about, when he's playing within an offense of Jalen Brunson and Julius Randle, right? How do you know what type of passes and shot attempts he's getting? Is he getting shot attempts in rhythm? Is he getting it when he's playing the right position? Is he getting it while he's shooting a high percentage shot? Or is he plummeted in the corner where he's not making a lot of shots anyways, but you still expect him to? Is he put in the right positions to succeed at those attempts? Let me ask you those questions, because that matters too. Coaching matters too. Where you are on the court matters too. When your coach runs plays for you, that matters too. But none of that is mentioned by Andy Bailey in his Bleacher Report article. It's just, hey, you were given this many attempts and you didn't convert on them. Not understanding who that player is, how he's being coached, and where he is in that offense. Where he is in that pecking order. When he's catching the ball. What time is left on the shot clock. Where he is. Is he shooting a high percentage shot for him? Why is nobody asking these questions? Because if you did, you couldn't add RJ Barrett to the mix. And by the way, how can somebody be overrated when they haven't even been the focal point of an offense? How are you overrated? Are you saying he's overrated based on the contract he's getting? Are you saying he's overrated based on how New York Knicks fans feel about him? Because I think if you asked any New York Knicks fan who had any sense of the game at all, they would tell you that RJ Barrett is far from a finished product. He needs development. He needs work. He needs a mid-range game. He needs to add that mid-range game so fast because that complements that aggressive drive that he has to the bucket. So if he can add that, he's on another hemisphere when it comes to his game and what he can do. But he needs to add those pieces, and he needs to add them fast. Because even though he's young, he's only going to get that excuse for so long. Because it's going to start being about how long you've been in the league time. And in the league time, he's coming on year 5. If you can't deliver in year 5, RJ Barrett might have a hard time recovering from another slow start if he doesn't show up this season. He has a lot of reasons to show up this season. Obviously competing with FIBA, with Team Canada, so that means a lot for him and his development, and obviously coming into the season locked in and focused already. Hopefully he doesn't have that slow start, and he can start the season ready, in shape, ready to go, and ready to contribute at a maximum level. If he can do that, the New York Knicks may take that step without adding anybody significant. And that in itself is a significant statement. And how can I make a statement like that if RJ Barrett is overrated? If RJ Barrett just needs to add a couple of pieces to his game and he's a young developing piece, why are we killing him and calling him overrated? And let's go back to the coaching aspect there. Because coaching, right? How many coaches has RJ Barrett seen? How many times has RJ Barrett been the number 2 option? And then this year, he had to switch to adjust to be the number 3 option behind Julius Randle and Jalen Brunson, who both should have been all-stars, especially Jalen. Absolutely, Jalen should have been an all-star. But besides the point, RJ Barrett had to adjust to that. Why isn't that taken into context? That his game had to adjust from being a number 2 option for so many years behind Julius to now having to adjust to be behind Julius and Jalen. It doesn't get talked about, and that's unfair to RJ Barrett. But let's go into who was the most overrated player. Dillon Brooks from the Houston Rockets now was the most overrated player according to Bleacher Report, and then following him was obviously RJ Barrett. According to Sports Illustrated here, despite not living up to the expectations he came into the league with, Barrett still earned a 4-year, $107 million extension, which goes into effect next season, and was kept out of high-profile trades such as the Donovan Mitchell negotiations, where the New York Knicks ultimately decided to pay RJ Barrett instead of going after Donovan Mitchell. And that was a key point and a key decision they made in their franchise's history moving forward, because now that decision is going to play a big part into their future. But we got to also talk about this. With RJ Barrett, it's not only the contract, because a lot of people put it to dollars. It's also about his play and his fit. I think we saw in the playoffs that RJ Barrett absolutely can fit this New York Knicks team. He's somebody who can create his own shot. He can drive. And if he can get that mid-range going, he will be a monster right next to Jalen Brunson. Could you imagine defenses trying to predict what RJ Barrett's going to do versus understanding he's just going to go left at the rim each and every time and not try to take contact, but try to do the loop-de-loop around you? You know what I'm talking about? The arm basically around the player and throw the ball up like he always does, and every player knows it's coming. If you basically can make the defenses start guessing on what you're going to do, it's going to improve who you are as a player. But we don't know if RJ Barrett can be a number 2 option on this New York Knicks team, because he really isn't utilized as a number 2 option. And I hope after this playoff run that we saw that Tom Thibodeau will at least allow more RJ Barrett playing a number 2 option on this team versus a number 3 option on this team. Because I'd rather see more RJ Barrett, especially in year 5, than I would rather see Julius Randle at this point in time. Because I would like to see Julius Randle play that 3 option and see what he can do. I would really love to see Julius Randle embrace being a passer Instead of being a scoring type of power forward, I would love for him to embrace his passing nature and just pass the ball more willingly, more freely, and try to get more people involved. And if he can take command like that going into next season for the New York Knicks, watch out for the Knicks, because that is an ultimate change that I don't think anybody would be ready for. It would definitely shake up what the New York Knicks have going on. And I'll tell you one thing, it likely means the New York Knicks are going to be one of the better teams in the East if all of that comes together the right way. But again, it all has to come together the right way. That means the pieces have to fit, the players have to accept that, and the coaching has to be part of it too. This was probably one of the worst articles I've ever read from Bleacher Report in a very long time. So Andy Bailey, again, I don't know if you have a problem with RJ Barrett or what. You can call him overrated if you want, but my opinion is you're looking at the stats and the numbers only, and you're not looking at RJ Barrett, the player, in the context of the New York Knicks, what they're doing, what they're running, and who their head coach is. Where RJ Barrett is put in those positions in terms of succeeding and making the most of those attempts. I don't think that's put into context. And if you're leaving all of that out and you're just looking at the numbers and then you're comparing it to a quote unquote league average type of player who you didn't name, it doesn't make sense to me. So the article doesn't make sense. You didn't name a player that you would put in regularly for RJ Barrett who could do the same in those attempts. And not only that, you didn't take RJ Barrett, the player, into context with regards to the New York Knicks, who he's playing with and who he's coached by. Since you missed all those factors, this article hits nothing for me. It does nothing for me. And you know what? It does not change my opinion of RJ Barrett in the least. I think RJ Barrett has no excuses, though, going into year 5. But that being said, I think year 5 for RJ Barrett is going to be the best of his entire career. If you like this video, go ahead and leave a comment below, smash that like button, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Until next time, Knicks fans. Peace.